Another thing that you write about in the book, I know, is, and this ties into learning, is mentorship. How do you make those
Well,
connections?
first of all, I try and divide it into two places because I think immediately people think they want their mentor to be Warren Buffett, and like that's
Yeah.
not realistic. And so, what I suggest is that they have a group of what I call aspirational mentors, and then more realistic, pragmatic mentors. So the aspirational ones, make a list of the people who really stand out in the field you want to attack and study them and learn from them. You know, it's interesting, like going way, way back, you might have needed to meet someone for them to mentor you. Today, in this day and age, with YouTube videos and podcasts, like a lot of these people are out talking about what they do, and you can go like consume all of that. And then for identifying mentors you're actually going to meet with, just be more pragmatic. There are people two tiers down from the greats that no one ever calls, right? Find out who they are. They'll be flattered if you're studying them. And, you know, they may not all respond, but you might be surprised. Like 40% of them might say, okay. And then the last thing I would just say, different mentors can bring you different things. So you might use one mentor to know about one topic and a different one for another, a leadership or some particular skill. And so you don't have to have this Yoda type person who's all knowing.
I spoke with Damon John a while back, and he talked about this a little bit and said, being a mentor, like, I'd love to give you advice, but don't come to me and say, I've got this problem, give me money to fix it. That's not what mentorship is.
Yeah, I think I mentioned in the book you need to be nuanced about how you approach mentors and the types of things you ask for. I think you can't waste a ton of their time. I think you can't pretend they want to spend 3 hours at a dinner with you. But if you can be um, efficient with their time, if you can know what they know that you don't, and if you can be very specific about what you want. Like, I think it is okay to say, I've got this tactical problem. Here are 3 ideas I have. What's your feedback? By the way, many of the people in the book that we profile did this thing where they identified the greats and kind of studied them. Many of them ended up meeting those people, which is a spectacular moment in their story, right? Where they're starting to rise. They've studied these people. So when that moment happens, when that opportunistic chance happens, it's very easy for them to start a conversation because they know a lot about this individual.
I'm sure you get stopped a lot by people who recognize you. Is there a common question that is on the mind of a lot of entrepreneurs or people who are trying to pitch you something? Like, what's the most common
Well, a
thing you
lot of them
get?
are trying to pitch me, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
that's
That's
probably the most common. I do get asked a lot about breaking into venture, and so much so that I developed years ago. I developed like a 5 pager that that I immediately send to people, and that explains how the industry works, explains what the real, you know, avenues of success are and what the work product actually looks like, because I think there's some misperceptions, and then gives them a hint at how they might break in. And so um, it's interesting. One of the things I do at the end of that letter is I say, if you really want to go do this, do these 5 things and come back to me. And that, just that little bit of friction, really, there aren't that many people that actually made it to that next step.
What do you say to people now who are entering, they just graduated college, and it's a different time to graduate into college from. People are struggling to get their foot in the door because they feel like AI has already replaced them. What kind of advice do you give to people who are in that struggle right now?
Well, first of all, I would tell them to relax a little bit. I think part of the challenge of the modern world is, um, with no malintent whatsoever, we've developed a philosophy about what children need to do from age 10 through 22, that is a gauntlet of pressure. And I see people speak out about it. The college entrance process, re, Jonathan Haidt calls it the resume arms race, that literally starts when you're 10. That puts you in a lacrosse class, and a cello class, and a chess class, and volunteering. And I think it's unfortunate because the the kid is so wired to believe that they have to keep achieving,
Yep.
on this path, that they don't ever take the time to kind of take a deep breath and explore. We used to allow kids to go to college for 2 years before we allowed them to pick a major. Today, you
Mm,
have to, many schools apply to a major. And
yeah.
I talked to one professor who studied the progression at college, and she says if you've taken 5 courses, she can predict your major within 98%. And
Oh,
so
really? Wow.
we
Okay.
just lock people in. And
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is, when you look across successful people, many of them are in a field far away from their major. And so, and I was at a university yesterday giving a talk, and a woman came up to me afterwards and said she wanted to switch from psychology to finance, and she was 22, and she said, "Is it too late?" And I thought, wow, what a crazy, like, unfortunate mindset to have. And I told her, look, if you transition to like a master's in finance after an undergrad in psychology, like, do you know how many people study behavioral finance? Like, it's a big thing. Like, that could be highly differentiating. Like, you might do even better. And so, that's my point about relaxing, like just giving people permission. And another reality of this gauntlet we've put these kids in, I think we've favored these jobs we view as economically safe. And as you point out, AI kind of throws a wrench in all of that. I mean, comp sci went overnight from being the job where you just can't not get hired to, oh my God, there's a bunch of unhired, comp sci students. So, um, probably more of a reason to just really explore and find what you love, and don't do something for the wrong reason or for someone else's reason. And then the last thing I would say, just as a general advice to everyone out there, lean into AI. Like it is a tool of the future. And no, the best way to preserve your chances in any field, including programming, is to embrace it and to be super powered by it.